So, Billy, you like to gamble. And I use the name Billy because, of course, Billy can be a guy or a really cool girl. Before I teach you how to gamble, not the pitfall, yeah, of course, the pitfall, so on and so forth, you're going to get a lecture or two on a bunch of different things. But I promise you this everything I tell you is going to be 100% the truth. I'm sure 98% of it I can prove. And but I do have one disclaimer. Everybody, and I mean everybody, has the right, as long as YouTube says it's okay, to copy this video, to distribute it everywhere. You can stream it, YouTube it, HBO it, whatever it is, cable, Optimum, whoever you might have. I don't care how you get it. You can send it to Alaska. You can copy everything you want, alrighty? As long as YouTube says it's okay. The only thing you can't copy is this. I have a saying. Well, it's called NADS, NADSS, but one S on the S is on the end. One S is pointed upward. One S is pointed downward. One S stands for stupid for the people giving, and the other stands for scumbag for the people who are taking. So, but that's the only thing. I won't tell you the exact wording of it. This way, you can't copy it. So now, let's see. Oh, yes. Besides teaching you for real, not just the ins and outs, the ups and downs, why you should and why you shouldn't. I'm not against gambling. Believe me, I'm not. I just kind of can't do it. Not even kind of, I can't. Let's see, where am I going to go from there? This is going to be such a cool video I'm going to do. So, what was I going to say next? Uh-oh. Oh, wait a second. I can pause it. Yes. The only place I do not want you to send this to is Mars. I hate Mars. And I think it's disgusting that we're spending billions and trillions of dollars to find out if there's life on Mars a billion years ago. I'm all for space exploration and all those things. But are you kidding me? We have and I use this example, there's been a disgusting water problem in Flint, Michigan for years upon years. You're going to tell me that we can get something to dig down the middle of Mars to find out if there was life there a billion years ago, but we can't get the water to Flint, Michigan? Come on, are you kidding? If I had 1/10, 1/100th of the Mars budget, alrighty, for exploration at Mars, alrighty, believe me, I could change, and I don't mean to be a dick, but I could make the hugest dent in homelessness that you could ever imagine. And I mean that because it's going to be, I don't want to say easy, but what you need, and of course when I say homeless is not just homelessness, but especially feeding people everywhere. How can anybody be hungry? Are you kidding or what? So what we need is vacuum sealing, okay, for all the foods. So foods will last, all kinds of great foods can last for a long time with the vacuum sealing, but like in so many charities, it's the stealing, and that's what's got to be prevented. Okay, vacuum sealing, and the stealing's got to stop. I mean, major penalties, and it should always happen that there are major penalties for these people doing these things, and I'll go into that kind of like another time. Let's see. So I'm going to pause again. I just learned that I can pause this thing all the time. Do you realize that if we took them now again, and then we had these people, these scientists, these geniuses working on these things, you know, to discover life on Mars, if we had them down here, alrighty, in other words, paid them, of course, paid them very well to use their talents to solve problems down here. Take a year sabbatical from Mars, not just us, all the countries, all the nations around, and use that money. Are you kidding or what? Now, here's one you'll hate. I'd like to start off by saying this, and I promise you'll get the best gambling advice. I promise. Alrighty? But I just thought I could go not do this and go off on tangents, but I can't. Oh, see? As you see, if you look there, I do smoke pot. I smoke cigarettes like a freaking idiot. I promise I'm quitting. Like, I know how dicky that sounds, but I'm almost free. And it's brutal to do, but I'm doing it. Alrighty, and you all should. And yeah, here's another one. I saw next to me when I was having my quad bypass. I saw a guy in the hospital laying next to me. 5 or 6 nurses, 3 or 4 times a day, not an hour, a few hours at a time, holding this poor guy down and vacuuming his lungs out. Give up the freaking smoking. Well, we all got to do that. Ugh, what a brutal habit. Of course, let's see. It's another thing I went off on. Where was I? Oh, you're going to hear a lot of things. But let me just start off. How about I give you a couple of stories? How about I give you a couple of gambling stories? And what I will say is this. Yes, do I know that the whole thing has been my fault since day one with the gambling? Of course I do. Alrighty? 1,000,000,000%. I've admitted it 1,000,000 times, and I'm kind of sick of justifying myself. And then I got a story about the horsey Justify. But, oh, by the way, I haven't made a bet in the 8-year range. Alrighty? And no matter what, nothing ever could ever make me bet again. Nothing. Zero. So, and again, I am not against gambling. Alrighty? I'm against sports gambling. Alrighty, idiots. But, and I haven't bet sports since the ball went between Billie Buckner's legs. I had the Red Sox with 4 if reverse college football teams. Alrighty? And I lost about 3,500, but I would have won 21.5. And that was honestly the last time I bet sports. It was in '86. And I didn't make a bet. It wasn't that moment, but from towards right at the end of '86, I didn't make a bet until 1990. And yeah, except for losing the one person. I don't want to say the one person, but there's a couple of people that in my life I truly admired for many years. Of course, my dad and my mom. I had the best parents in the world. The best, the nice, sweetest Jewish parents. Neither one of them had an enemy. And for real, we weren't rich, we weren't poor, but everybody loved my parents. And holy shit, did they raise 3 fucked up kids. Oh my God. You know how, well, let's put it this way. We all say we hope they're in a better place. I sure do. You're not kidding. But what I learned, and I read this somewhere, is that, and it's true, we all want to think, that they're in a better place, so there's a better place for us. So I miss my mom and dad more than you'll ever know. Couldn't have wished for any better. My mom was a genius, a little short 4'11" genius. She loved to gamble. Alrighty. As a matter of fact, I didn't make a. Here we go. All right. Yeah, I'll give you a gambling story. Are you ready? It's 1990. I hadn't made a bet since 1986, and I'm doing really well. Okay, I'm doing really well. I wasn't making millions or anything like that. I lived like I did because I'm the most insecure guy that ever walked the planet. I lived so far beyond my means my entire life to be a show-off and an idiot. So anyhow, matter of fact, I told the story at my mom's funeral. It was 1990. It was the second anniversary of my father's death, and I had a white Corvette. And I says, "Come on, Ma, I'll take you to Atlantic City with $1,000. Now, most normal mothers would have said, "David," and by the way, my mom, not only a genius, a legal secretary for divorced from for 18 years, and then went on to work at a very, very large firm in Garden City. Not the best law firm, unfortunately, but very, very large. Um, she worked there for 18 years under one of the partners. So mom was a total genius. Anyhow, back to the story. So I says, come on, Mom, I'll take you to Atlantic City with $1,000. We'll go have some fun. So what's my mom supposed to say? David, you're doing so well. Everything's going so bad, so on and so forth. Okay? No, I'm not going. My mother couldn't get in the car fast enough. All righty? I'm not blaming my... Listen, whatever it is. All right? So, yeah. My parents, they didn't know the word discipline. They truly didn't. And they were just such freaking great people. And we screwed them up big time. So anyhow, I'm driving to Atlantic City. And normally, you know, when you get mad, you lose. Alrighty? And a lot of times I would play one or two hands, for a long time. And if I got dealt out of the hand, already, if I was playing, two hands for 3 hours and all of a sudden I got dealt one hand, you know, I'd ask out. Of course, if it was a good hand, I wouldn't ask out. So, been a few problems with that along the way. I got many getting kicked out stories. So, I'm at Taj Mahal, and oh my God! Before I forget, the other people I admired most. One, speaking of Taj Mahal, his name was Mark Edis. Mark G. Edis stood for Mark Grossinger Edis. Alrighty? And inside Trump Taj Mahal was the Mark G. Edis Arena. I was his busboy and waiter at Grossinger's, upstate in the Catskills. I was the executive staff busboy. And Grossinger's was as close to royalty as you could ever come. And I love Mark. He treated me like gold. Then, unfortunately, at the end of the story, Mark was to be president of the Taj Mahal, but he was one of the four executives tragically killed in that horrible helicopter plane crash a couple of weeks before the Taj Mahal opened. Yeah, he was going to work for Mr. Trump, but he was the most eloquent, the greatest guy in the world. And if the whole world would be like, you just couldn't believe he treated everybody decently, so on and so forth. But what happened was, it was in between 86 and 90. I had given up gambling. And I had met a girl on a plane. And I met a date with her. So, I can't tell you, wait to tell you my story about all my blind dates. Okay? Oh my God. You can't imagine my blind dates. Let me sum it up for you this way. This one never showed, but I held a dial-a date on WBAB in Babylon to substitute her because I had this Mark Edis had promised me 4-day weekend, Valentine's Day weekend, in what's called RFB, which means room, food, beverage, anything you wanted, like you're a real big shot. Believe me, I've had many $10,000 steaks. You're being up, you're down, so on and so forth. But no matter what, there was one thing. I couldn't bet a dime. Alrighty, and he trusted me. So the dial-a-date girl goes, and I wound up taking her to Atlantic City for the 4 days. Had a great time. Never saw her again. But I didn't bet a dime. But the point was, this Mark Edis, the most decent human being that you'd ever come across. And it's scary to believe that he was in the casino business. But and then there was one other person. His name was Buff Bakay. Buff was going to be an offensive lineman, first-round offensive lineman out of Boston College. coming home from a party he wasn't driving. Never walked again. Never ever walked again. He died a couple of years ago. And what I will say to you about Buff, he didn't complain. He liked to gamble. But and I'll never forget the time that he was parked his van. He was finally able to drive one of those vans. He was actually able to drive it, and we were in the parking lot at Gilgo Beach, and somebody actually backed into it. And one of my knucklehead friends, who unfortunately he just passed away recently, but he said, "Hey Buff, you want me to kill that guy?" And Buff said, "Listen, I haven't walked in 30 years. You think I give a shit about my van?" And I always think about that when I had it rough. But, oh my God, what he went through in life and what so many others go through when we think we got it bad. So he was the other one. And let's see. I got no idea where the hell I left off. Oh, so here's what happens. There I am with my mom. And I drive down to Atlantic City, and what happened was I was playing at Showboat, and I'm up about 2,500 playing blackjack, and all of a sudden I'm playing two hands, and they dealt me out of one. All right, so I made a stink. Alrighty, wait till I tell you how I got kicked out of Showboat one time. So I made a stink. Alrighty, and they let me out of the hand. Fine. I says, "Come on, Ma, we'll go to Showboat." All right. Now, at that time, the casinos close at 4 o'clock in the morning. So it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. And from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the morning, I win $36,000. I catch the run of the century. All right. I'm going up to cash chips. My mother's going up to cash chips. And I admit I did this. Never mind. I went out one time without my happies and one time with. So, and I paid all my taxes for real. So now what happens is this. We're driving home. And I got the white Corvette. And I'm doing 95 on the Garden State Parkway. Now, I'm really not a big speeder. My fucking license is suspended over non-inspection and a broken headlight. I found out in 2020 when I went to try to rent a car that my license was suspended. I went to court. That's a whole nother story. I went to court to find out why. First, they tried to charge me $745 that day. Then they sent me over to somebody else. He got me down to $450, and I'm explaining to them, I'm homeless, I have no criminal record, it's the pandemic, please help me. No, you got to go see the judge. I'll tell you the story. So now what happens is this, all right? Shit, remind me, I'm going to get back to my mom, all right, with the 95. So now what happens is this. I wind up, all right, I got to go see the judge. Now, I've been to this court more than a few times before. No DWI, speeding, nothing along, no red light stop, nothing. All right? It was always either about not driving, insurance, or something. Nothing ever major. All right? And all it is a bargaining place at this 16 Cooper Street. All righty? I can't tell you that what they do. It's scary. So now, what happens is this. I go in front of the judge that day. And the truth is, no matter what you all think, 95% of the freaking judges out there are the greatest people in the world. The best. Okay? I mean, they truly are. So what happens was, like, if you're humble, like, people don't think I'm humble. Believe me, because I get excited. Believe me, I'm humble when it comes to, or I've been humbled, or subservient, not humble. Yeah, many times subservient, and had to be humbled, or whatever. So now what happens is this. I walk in to see the judge, and she said, what's going on, so on and so forth. And I said, Your Honor, This person, alrighty, came in, started me off at $745. Hey, we get you right out of here for $745. And I said to him, I can't pay that. Plus, I'll show you all the receipts. My car has gone through 5 headlights, 3 tail lights, 2 batteries. I bought a lemon 2 months after I had a quad bypass. They knew I was homeless, knew I was going to live in it. And it's been off the road for 3.5 or more out of the 5 years I own it. Completely shorted out. And no matter what I've done, I couldn't get my money back. No one would help me. Alrighty, I did everything to try to get my money back. But we'll bounce to that later. So now, there I am in front of the judge, and I said, Your Honor, this guy, and all of a sudden some female, it's another prosecutor, alrighty, tall girl, lady, comes across and says, No, we never did that. Meanwhile, I have the paper right in front of me with the 745 crossed out, okay, and the drop down and a couple of more cross outs. And I go, Your Honor, here. So now, Your Honors, okay, she gets a little annoyed. And of course, I was trying to be friendly in the beginning, use my humor to try to ease the situation. But she said, Well, you want to go to trial? I said, No, but if I got to go to trial, I'll go to trial. I can't afford this. She said, Okay, we'll set a trial date. Alrighty, boom, boom, boom. We'll set a trial date, we'll notify you. Okay. So I call back a few weeks later, because of the COVID stuff, when this actually was going on, that there are no trial dates. So now, what happens is this. Alrighty? Yes, I'm scared shit of the law. I'm scared shit of being locked up, alrighty, or cooped up. That's one of my fears, big time. Big time. So only one night in jail in my life. So now, and never the loony bin. So now, oh yes, I will interject and calm down and say, speaking of the loony bin, when I held a sign up about something horrible I had seen a few years ago in front of ABC Studios. I had seen something horrible, but I was afraid to go to turn it in to the police myself. So I went to ABC Studios in Manhattan, and I held up a big sign right in their window, and it says, Please help, I have something I must tell you. It's an emergency, I'm afraid to go to the police myself. So there was 2 ladies that were doing the news. It was about 5 o'clock in the morning. They were live. There was nobody else, but people always go up to the windows and stuff. So I went up to the window with my sign, and they actually waved to me twice and put up their fingers. But of course, the security guard, already, that I met around the corner, who told me where this place was, now wants to get involved again. Because when I saw her the first time, I explained to them I need to speak to somebody, so on and so forth, very polite. Now the security, already, wants to get involved. You can't put your sign up against the glass. I said, listen, this is no joke. I'm really trying to turn in something about. So what did they do? They called the police. Now the police come, and I have a recording of something that I want to hand to them. Now what happens is worse. Alrighty? What do? They call the loony bin. My biggest fear. I'm homeless. Okay, I live it. Broke. And again, many people have it so much worse. But there I am. Alrighty. Living in this car, and if they take my car, life's over, because everything I own is in it. And recordings from many years ago and all kinds of stuff. So now, the loony bin gets me, and they bring me into the van. And it's not nice to say that, but that's So they get me in the van, and the police are right outside, and they ask me what's going on, and I explain to them I'm trying to handle this, tape. This is what's. Well, do you want to give it to the police? I says, yeah. They said, well, let me ask you a question. How do you spell myself? So I said, M-Y-S-E-L-F. Why? Well, you spelled it wrong on the sign. Now, the way that I answer, Depends whether I go to the loony bin or not. So I'm thinking to myself, I said, excuse me, I was extremely nervous. I misspelled myself. So thank God that they were cool. They said, what do you want to do with the tape? I want to give it to the police. They were standing right outside. I went to go hand it to the police. Boom. They told me to bring it into Suffolk County. Alrighty. Now, the reason I mention that is this. I've also recently, because I'm on a medication called Paxil, which I can get oxycodone because I have a script for it when I broke my ankle 4 months ago. But I've been having difficulty for a long time getting a script for my Paxil, which is partly my fault, but 90% the Department of Social Services, because I still don't have my medical for 3.5 years after my quad bypass. I just bounced. See, and I talked about my meds. Where was I? Looney bin, so on and so forth. Oh, yes. So, a couple of months ago, because I could no longer get my script from the hospital I normally got it from,